The sixth lecture, Techniques of Translation. Lecture class plan. The first, the two main stages of the translating process. The second, the choice of the dominant aspect of meaning. The study of the linguistic machinery of translation makes it possible to outline the main principles of the translator's strategy. When confronted with the text to be translated, the translator's first concern is to understand it by assessing the meaning of language units in the text against the contextual situation and the pertaining extralinguistic facts. At the same time, the translator must take care to avoid thinking into the text, adding the information which is not in fact present in source text. To transfer a form from one language to another with different alphabets, the translator either copies the form by the letters of the target language or changes it by making transformations. Mechanical copying or transfer of the source language words includes the first, transcription, or copying the sound form of the source language word by means of the target language letters. The second, transliteration, transliteration or copying the letters of the source language by the target language letters of another system. Some linguists consider calque translation as mechanical copying. Calque is translation by parts, extralinguistic, внеязыковой, carry out, на вынос, start over, old believer. Since the calqued word is not just a mechanical borrowing of the form, but it undergoes some changes. This device is to some extent an actual translation, which includes form transformations. Translation transformations are complete changes of the appearance of a translated word, phrase, or sentence. In foreign translation theory, these transformations are known as shifts of translation. Translation transformations can be three categories. There are grammatical transformations, lexical transformations, complex transformations. Translation techniques. There are two techniques, direct and oblique. Direct techniques, borrowing, calque, literal translation. Oblique techniques, transposition, modulation, reformulation or equivalence, adaptation, compensation. Techniques. There are translation of literary passages, reading comprehension questions, antonyms and synonyms, cognates, deductive application of grammatical rules, fill in the blanks, memorization, use words in sentence, composition writing. Translation techniques. There are addition, antonymic translation, attachments, change of the grammatical form. The choice of the dominant aspect of meaning usually depends on the type of the text and the prevailing pragmatic considerations. While translating, for instance, figurative set expressions, the translator may try to preserve their basic metaphorical meaning at the expense of the other parts of the contents, including the figure of speech that makes up the metaphorical structure of the collocation. In most cases, the purport of communication is, first and foremost, to express a certain idea, while the figurative way of expressing it is a kind of embellishment, a nice and pleasant luxury which can be dispensed with if necessary. When a skeleton in the family cupboard becomes a shameful family secret in translation, there is certainly a loss in expressiveness, but the basic sense is well preserved. The metaphorical meaning will be chosen as the dominant part of the contents in most translations. The elements of the translator's techniques described above give only a general idea of his professional strategy. Translation is a creative process of search and discovery, and it takes much ingenuity and effort to apply the general principles of the translation theory to the practical problems.